The key for me to creativity, to learning, is to listen.
It is as central as the air we breathe, as the water we thirst for.
Artists have an important role to play.
They have a certain way of thinking about the world that helps people see a new reality.
Culture is a central organizing, welcoming platform for our children.
We know that music has this remarkable ability to regulate our moods and to connect us with each other.
Music, as I always said, is a fundamental human right.
Why has man always gone to the fireside? Why do we have these things, television and movies and plays and music and art and dance?
Every young people, regardless of their socioeconomic backgrounds, should have access to free music education in their schools and in their communities.
Explain the world to us in a more nuanced way.
Being part of the future of these communities and the vitality of the communities.
Think of culture as an ability to bring about a great diversity.
Each of us, we are made of different layers of cultures.
I think all our problem, we can fit it with love.
As presiding officer of the Scottish Parliament, it gives me great pleasure, on behalf of all members and summit partners, to introduce this special edition of the Edinburgh International Culture Summit. Now, none of us needs to be reminded of the importance of culture and the arts in promoting international dialogue and understanding. So while we may not be able to physically gather together, this special edition summit does provide us with a unique forum for debate and discussion about international cultural policy. As a global community, we're living through an extraordinary period of upset and uncertainty. And at times of great upheavals such as this, it can be all too tempting for many policymakers to think of our cultural sectors as somehow peripheral to the challenges we collectively face.
In Scotland, we are passionately proud of our culture. It is woven through our everyday life. It defines who and what we are, and its transformative potential is experienced by everyone. Hearing the voices of everyone is increasingly important. And the theme of the transformational power of culture for this summit is very apt. Art and culture plays such an important role in how we think about the world. The ideas of artists and creative people can help us tackle the world's issues in new and different ways. This brings to mind some lines of poetry from Scottish poet and activist Mary Brooksbank. A richer harvest we reap, a broader culture and more deep, artists, writers, music makers, with workers, would-be legislators.
We're living through times of huge contradictions. We're living through a global pandemic which affects all of us, but our connections with ourselves and our communities and our families are all the more important as we make those connections which support us through these difficult times. At a time when we are seeing major loss of life, major threats to our livelihoods, we rely on these connections to give us some hope for the future. And the cultural sector is nothing but inventive. So we are looking for new ways to connect, new ways to create, and new ways to maintain those connections, which will be all the more important as we rebuild the world, which we don't yet understand once the pandemic has passed. In the post-COVID world, there will be many demands on the public purse, all of them valid. But we need to make sure that we speak loudly and proudly on behalf of the cultural sector, so that we can maintain our contribution to making the societies vibrant and to bounce back better, as we hope that our economies and our nations will do around the world.
There's never been a better time to consider the importance of art and culture in extraordinary circumstances. Through COVID-19 crisis, many of us have turned to literature, art, music, comedy, cinema, and theatre to help us through. Whether that means by helping us reassess and reconsider what is truly important in life, or the equally noble aim of just keeping the kids entertained for a couple of hours, there has never been a time when we've been more conscious of the part that culture plays in our everyday lives. It's my firm belief that the United Kingdom's history and world-class art and culture offer confers upon us a unique responsibility. The responsibility is to continue to convene and drive global cultural conversations, to help share our values and ideas, to continue our mission to reduce inequality and increase accessibility to culture and education across the globe.
Welcome to the special edition of the Edinburgh International Culture Summit. This year, the summit's title, The Transformational Power of Culture, seems particularly appropriate. At a time when the world continues to assess the devastating personal and collective impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, measured through individual bereavement, social dislocation, and economic hardship, we are all somewhat consoled by the poems and songs, jokes and jives, paintings and pirouettes that an abundance of artists freely offer through myriad online platforms as a constant reminder of the fragility and the enduring nature of our shared humanity. The summit is not a concert hall, nor a theatre, nor a museum, nor even a library. The summit's collaborators are indeed actors and theatre directors, dancers and choreographers, novelists and librarians, painters, sculptors and museum curators, musicians and singers. But they are also architects, economists, educators, epidemiologists, historians, human rights advocates, medical and social scientists, philanthropists, philosophers and tech entrepreneurs. To attempt to distill an event that normally brings 350 delegates from every part of the globe and to compress formal and spontaneous encounters onto a single digital platform has been quite a challenge. The summit is designed to be experienced in several ways. I encourage you to discover the range of ideas we have assembled on this site at your own pace. There really is no hurry, as all the content will be freely available for many months to come. Culture enables us to understand our world. It helps us all to appreciate each other, our similarities and our differences. Our present circumstances call for humility and tact. This is a time for thoughtful recalibration of our most fundamental beliefs and aspirations.
I'm happy to address once again the Edinburgh Culture Summit. We are living in a difficult period, a period of pandemic with the consequences economic, social, political, psychological, and devastating consequences for culture. We have seen empty museums, theaters, concert halls, silent, operas, but at the same time, culture invaded our homes through the different digital platforms. We have listened to operas, to concerts, we have been participating in debates, and now is the time to think about the world after.
Culture thrives in the way we live our daily lives, in the form of even what we wear daily, our spirituality, and in the way we think, in the way we interact with each other as a family, a wider family.
문화예술의 힘은 강합니다. 4차 산업혁명 시대에 새로운 기술과 문화예술 콘텐츠가 함께한다면 코로나19 같은 세계적 재앙이 닥친다 해도 우리는 새로운 문화예술의 장을 충분히 열 수 있습니다. 최근 조사에 따르면 한국인의 절반 정도가 코로나19의 장기화로 인한 불안감과 소외감을 느끼고 있습니다. 정도의 차이는 있겠지만 세계인 모두 비슷한 문제를 겪고 있을 거라 생각합니다. 거리는 멀어져도 마음은 가까이. 대한민국의 개인 방역 5대 기본 수칙 중 하나인 이 말은 비록 코로나19로 인해 물리적으로 사회적 거리를 둘 수밖에 없더라도 서로를 향해 얼굴을 맞대듯이 따뜻한 마음을 간직하자라는 뜻입니다. 위기 앞에서 모두가 한 마음이 되듯이 예술과 문화를 경험할 수 있는 기회 또한 평등하게 주어지길 바랍니다.
Culture in
articulating a national identity is something that's particularly topical in 2020 in Australia as we think about the appropriate involvement of an understanding of Indigenous Australia in that overall sense of our national identity. It's one of the ways in which there's been very big change since 1970 when the 200th anniversary was marked. And of course, Indigenous art, Indigenous culture is one of the powerful elements of our contemporary national identity. And for people in every country, the arts and culture play such an important role in defining a national identity.
Even in the midst of a pandemic, culture is bringing us together. This summit's focus on culture in its intersection with education, social cohesion, and vibrant communities is vital. Culture connects us in unique and enduring ways. It connects us to our families, friends, and neighbors. It helps us remember who we are and where we come from. As COVID-19 swept across the world, it was heartening to see how museums, orchestras, and schools maintained our human connection with online exhibitions and classes. This reflects the theme of the Edinburgh International Culture Summit, the power of culture.
On behalf of all Algerian artists and stakeholders in the cultural sector, I thank you for giving us the opportunity to participate in this special edition of the Edinburgh International Culture Summit. I hope that this meeting will open up new horizons for cooperation in the field of arts and culture between Algeria and the United Kingdom. Let us continue to make culture resonate in all its diversity. Let us unite our forces and ideas in solidarity.
The creative industries have been hit especially hard by this global pandemic. Many artists and performers have seen their livelihoods almost completely disappear, and recovery will take time. We are working to support them to weather this crisis. And yet, those same artists and performers have continued to find new ways to create, to tell their stories, to keep our cultures alive and thriving at a time when we need them more than ever.
So we've tried to make the best of a very difficult period. And I think this virtual cultural summit would give us many pointers on how we can globally move forward and ensure that culture, which is at the heart of all of us, continues to thrive and prosper.
La pandemia nos enfrentó como sector a las deudas históricas, las brechas y las fallas no subsanadas, de la misma forma en que nos puso enfrente a nuestras más grandes fortalezas. Y en este escenario, observando desde los márgenes de la desgracia, pero también desde el centro de esta reunión, la pregunta de fondo vuelve a ser: ¿para qué nos sirven la cultura y las artes en este momento histórico?
歴史ある夏の文化の祭典であるエディンバラ国際フェスティバルが本年新型コロナウイルス感染拡大の影響により中止となったことは残念でなりません。しかしながら文化芸術の力を信じる世界中の関係者がデジタル文化サミットにおいて意見交換を行う素晴らしい機会が設けられたことに大変勇気づけられました。
Для Казахстана очень интересен опыт наших зарубежных коллег в части новых способов поддержки творческих людей и учреждений культуры, а также обеспечения досуга населения. Это особенно важно сегодня, в этот период пандемии, ведь во все времена культура и культурные связи имели стимулирующую силу, которая сближала и объединяла миллионы людей.
Today, more than ever before, in the complex moment we are going through, culture has proven to be a space of relief, containment, and resilience to move forward. In recent months, we have witnessed how people facing uncertainty and anguish have sought shelter in reading, watching audiovisual material, listening to music, or practicing some discipline or art.
Abbiamo avuto la conferma in questo periodo di emergenza sanitaria di quanto la cultura sia un asset assolutamente strategico, non solo per il grande impatto che ha sull'economia e sull'occupazione, ma anche come elemento identitario per il ruolo sociale che svolge, per la capacità che ha di aggregare le persone, per il contributo determinante che dà alla coesione, all'inclusione e al diffondersi di nuove competenze.
Unfortunately, victim of COVID-19 crisis is culture, since it relies on human-to-human contact. No one dares to predict what it is going to happen. It is an exceptional situation that the world has never faced before. On the one hand, the field of culture has suffered heavily from financial losses and ended up in a state of limbo, not knowing what to think of tomorrow. On the other hand, culture evokes emotion by virtue of direct involvement. That is the risk posed by digital field of losing emotional contact. The culture domain was not ready for such rapid transformation to work only and solely in the digital environment. Still, the crisis has transformed the perception of culture and has opened up a unique opportunity for it to be different, to be relatable to others.
With nations across the world still imposing travel restrictions, international exchanges have not been taking place around the world. But we can continue to keep our relationships warm, even when the border restrictions are leaving us out in the cold. Singapore will do our part to organize and participate in cultural exchanges through harnessing technology, such as we are experiencing in the summit today.
The special edition of the summit considers ideas and perspectives embedded in our many diverse cultures and how these can help take us beyond our current predicament. I am reminded by what the great American anthropologist Margaret Mead said when asked what was the earliest sign of civilization. The earliest sign of civilization was a healed femur. In a society based on hunting and gathering, a person with a fractured femur, a fractured thigh bone, would be unable to care for themselves and be useless. Someone with a broken femur, a broken thigh bone, would simply be allowed to die. But a healed femur, a healed thigh bone, showed that someone cared. Someone had to hunt and gather food for the injured person until their leg healed. Margaret Mead said, "The evidence of compassion was the first sign of true civilization."
The Edinburgh International Festival is proud to be a partner of the Edinburgh International Culture Summit and to be able to contribute to this very special edition. As we quite rightly focus our attentions on our local communities and economies, the summit is a reminder of how important it is to share experiences with our friends and colleagues around the world as we plot a course for the future. The current crisis is a global challenge, and it's right that we use our cultural connections and values as part of our collective recovery. Over the past few months, we've looked to our artists for comfort, wisdom and entertainment. Books, music, films, online performances and gaming have kept us connected to others and to our understanding of ourselves. However, the absence of gathering together has brought home to me how much we need culture to define our sense of ourselves, but also as part of our community. This could be in our attendance at a local painting group, our loyalty to a certain type of club night, or expressing our social and political views through highly charged theatre and dance. For many people around the world, it is in the act of singing with others. There's something intensely communal about choral singing, communal at a physical, spiritual and social level. Local choirs throughout the world have been temporarily disbanded, including our own Edinburgh Festival chorus. The festival chorus was founded in 1965 and over the past 5 decades has brought together local people from Edinburgh and Scotland to perform with the greatest orchestras and conductors in the world. It's one of our festival's greatest achievements. This year, our chorus director, Aidan Oliver, decided that we should ask the members of our chorus to give us a sense of what they've been up to in lockdown. They tell their story alongside a rendition of Ecce Gratum from one of the works they were due to perform at this year's festival, Karl Orff's Carmina Burana.
Christus.